Look at it this way. Bruce, always telling a lie. He's lived a lie his whole life about who he is.
He begins transitioning into a woman. A doctor prescribes female hormones, estrogen. And remember, this is back in the 80s, 30 years ago.
God, I've started on hormones.
In the 80s you started?
Oh, yeah.
How much did you do? How long did you do it?
I did it almost 5 years.
Okay, here's what I got to say about this. As a trans woman myself, any trans woman will tell you, if you take medication, hormones, and testosterone blockers for 6 months, you are unable to have children anymore. So what I'm talking about here is the children that Bruce Jenner had with Kris aren't his children. And I would make a wager of $100,000 to say that those children are not genetically his. And how I would say that is, look at his children. Look at the children that he had with his other wives. He was a very kind of almost male model looking guy from the 80s. And his children, when you look at his children that he has now, his ones from his first wives, they're very hunky. They're very handsome. You know, they're very male model, female model looking as well. And when you look at the Jenner children, the Kardashians, they look nothing like that. They look Armenian. They don't look like they're his. Kind of like Michael Jackson, you know, with pillow and blanket, you know. They're two little goofball names. Those children are not Michael Jackson's, obviously. You don't have sex with a white woman as a black man and end up with white children. It just doesn't happen. You know, it can't happen. So, I mean, it can happen, but it wouldn't happen with Michael Jackson. So, the children that he has, that he says he has, he had with his ex-wife, Kris, I'll guarantee aren't his. And I'll show you how. I'll show you in this video how.
And since he'd been on those female hormones, he says he eventually had to say something.
I'd been on hormones for 5 years, and it was a good solid 36B something. So you really can't, you know, you can't hide those things.
And they are parents of a big blended family, including 2 daughters together.
We're expecting a baby girl in November. We're doing great. Aren't we, honey?
Wonderful, wonderful. And his youngest, Kendall and Kylie, with their wife, Kris.
Now, something else I'll point out, the last thing. Caitlyn did a facial feminization surgery that took 10 hours and cost $70,000. Something I would say, I mean, she said in the interview with Diane Sawyer that she didn't want she didn't want to tell anybody that she was going to get the surgery because she thought it was like really not any of their business really. It was kind of like not something you should really talk about. So shortly after this interview, she went in and got facial feminization surgery and breast augmentation. So I'll just throw that out there on the table for you. And here's what she has to say about it.
Surgery. The transgender community asks everyone respect privacy. and to steer away. But in this interview, Jenner freely talks about how he thinks about his decision. Once he was sure he would do it, laughing at what his smart-mouthed stepdaughter says.
If you're living your life female, okay, as Chloe would say, you got to have the vajayjay. You would identify as female, your driver's license would be female, your name is female.
You're supposed to spend at least 1 year, right, in the gender.
Yes. They're pretty lenient on that, but that is true.
2 references, 2 referrals.
Already got them.
Most facial feminization surgeries are anywhere from about 15 to 25,000. If you look at the pictures of Bruce in the Diane Sawyer interview and Caitlyn a few months later when the facial feminization surgery had been done, you might notice that there's not a lot of change in the face. What you will notice is she has breasts, but one of the biggest things that I would say is in the United States, the average cost of a gender reassignment surgery is $50,000 to $75,000. Also, you have to be on hormones for at least a year to get the gender reassignment surgery. In the interview with Diane Sawyer, Bruce was in the kitchen and she asked him how long has he been on the hormones at the time they did the interview, which would have been in November or December actually, and it came out like 2 months later after they did all the editing. So at that time he said he had been on hormones for 1.5 years already.
It also means he has money for good medical care during his transition, cosmetic surgery first.
You do face, breasts, you know, all that kind of stuff.
He has now been back on hormones for 1.5 years.
Now you'll see in this part of the interview that they're talking about the sexual reassignment surgery. He says that his daughter says that if you're going to be a woman, you have to have the vajayjay. And she says you have to live as a woman for 1 year. That's what they say. You have to live as a woman for 1 year. And then you have to have 2 referrals. You have to have 2 people to referral. He says in the interview he already has those. Which tells you when she went and got her facial feminization surgery, chances are she got her gender reassignment surgery, because a common problem that you'll see when people get their surgery is they get a lot of anxiety. You know, there's a lot of stories. I used to live in Trinidad, Colorado, which was the sex change capital, and Dr. Biber was the person there that did all the first sex changes, and he's the one that made the hospital in Trinidad, Colorado. And there's a lot of stories from that time where after they would get their sexual reassignment surgeries, they would drive them to like DIA, and this is down in Trinidad, so they drive them to DIA to take the airplane, and they would tell the person that was driving the cab or the van or whatever to stop, and lots of these people would get out and they would just like tear their clothes off and run around and just go nuts, and they like couldn't believe that they were finally women or whatever, and they just, you know, they have this crazy anxiety that went on. And you hear the story where she was in facial feminization surgery for 10 hours. Well, if you look at the face of Bruce in the interview and Caitlyn a couple months later, there's not a lot of difference there. The hair is done, that's about it, and some makeup. There's not a lot there. She does have breasts, obviously, that she went and got a breast job. But they do that a lot at the same time. There's a lot of people that get sexual reassignment surgery and breast augmentation at the same time, and facial surgery. They do 3 surgeries in once. Now, facial feminization surgery doesn't take that long. Usually it takes about 2 to 4 hours at most. So sexual reassignment surgery takes 4 to 5 hours. So if you put those two together, and you put, like, maybe she didn't do much surgery at all to her face, you come up with 10 hours. So my other claim that I would say is she's already had her surgery. She had her surgery last year in February or January or whenever it was. You know, maybe she got it for Christmas, for her birthday, or her Christmas present or whatever. You know, but lastly, what I'd like to say is most people will tell you, transgenders, if you're on hormones for longer than 6 months, you're sterile. You can't have kids. You're done. That's it. And unless you save your sperm, then that's about the only way you could have kids, is if you saved your sperm. I would say, judging by looking at Brandon and Brody, which are Bruce's kids from his second wife, and Bert and Cassandra, his first two children from his first wife, and then looking at Kendall and Kylie, you'll notice that the resemblance isn't there, especially before they had the facial surgeries, because they've both had so much facial surgery they don't look anything like they used to look. So if you look at the way they looked when they were children, you'll notice that there's not a lot of resemblance when you look at old pictures, which I may show at the end of this video. I'll throw some, I might even throw some in the middle of this video and stuff so that you can see while I'm talking about this stuff. The resemblance between Bruce and his kids are pretty evident when you look at his first 4 children. The resemblance between him and Kylie and Kendall is almost non-existent. And I'll also put up another deal here that I found the other day. Apparently, I mean, this isn't confirmed. I haven't confirmed it, but I found a picture. I found a meme that showed this. From the meme, I want to point that out. It shows that her husband, her ex-husband, or he's dead now, her ex-husband, was defending O.J. Simpson, which was apparently her boyfriend, after she left, after he left his, wife, and then decided he wanted to go back with her. So she was apparently dating him while she was with her husband, who was, defending him, O.J. Simpson. And in the courtroom picture, they took a picture, she was sitting next to Bruce. So she was in the courtroom with 3 people that she was having sex with at the same time. So that's, I'd just like to throw that out, that like I say, I can't confirm that, but it looks really suspicious when her husband is actually defending O.J. Simpson, and she's sitting in the pew just behind him next to Bruce, her new husband. Very, very strange. So I'll just throw that out there. But yeah, but like I say, I would say, from what you can see then and now, Kylie and Kendall are not Bruce's children. They're not. Caitlyn's not their father. So I'll just throw that out there, and you guys talk amongst yourself. And I'm not hating. I'm a transgender myself. I'm just trying to say these are the facts as I see them, and you guys can mill about yourselves and think about what I've said. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about this, the fact that she was on hormones for 5 years before she met Kris, and then they had 2 kids after that, once he stopped taking the medication. You know, she said she stopped taking the medication and then she had kids, 2 kids, which any transgender will tell you, if you've been taking it longer than 6 months, it wouldn't matter if you stopped or not. You're not having any kids. You have like a 1 in 600 million chance of actually still being able to have a child after that. And the other thing that you might, in the interview, Bruce says that he thought their sex life was pretty good, but he found out from Kris after the fact, when they did interviews with Kris, that she actually didn't think their sex life was very good. Well, the thing is when you take hormones, your libido drops, and also the size of your penis and your balls both drop. So your penis size is smaller, your balls are smaller, and your sex drive is non-existent. So take that into consideration as well. So I'll just throw that all out there. Mill amongst yourselves. Thanks for watching. Share, like, and subscribe. Got any questions, leave them in the section below. I'll try to throw anything I need to throw down in the description section. And have a nice day.
And I would do it so quietly, nobody in the world would ever know. I am not shooting any of this, I'm not filming anything. To me, it's very degrading. At this point, as far as the term SRS, sexual reassignment surgery, would be down the line. Down the line.
So don't let them steal your